video here, the other question that we've been getting quite a bit is about the share price. And I've seen some comments around that, Joe doesn't care about share price. And I don't think that that's really fair. I want to be clear here. I care about the value of our company, and I care about the long-term value of our company. Do I think that our current share price and how it's being impacted is correct? I would disagree with that. I don't think that that's a correct representation of what our company is and what our company is working towards.
I've been waiting for a chance, and I think it's finally come. 'Cause I don't care.
Welcome back to Supreme Penny Stocks. I'm your host, Sal, and today I had the fantastic opportunity to speak with No Borders Incorporated CEO Joseph Snyder. The company is traded on the OTC market with the ticker symbol NBDR. He told me about his life, his aspirations for No Borders Incorporated, and their many subsidiaries. I think you'll find our conversation today very insightful, not just about what he plans to do with the company, but also getting in the mind of a CEO. I also want to make it very clear that within the first 10 minutes of the conversation, I had to basically throw all my questions out. Before I was going to do this interview, I got several questions from interested parties in regards to ask him about the stock price, short term, midterm, long term, what moves can we expect? And what I quickly realized is that he's just not that kind of CEO. Don't get me wrong. I truly believe that he wants to grow a company that truly has shareholder value, a company that can one day be on a major exchange like the NASDAQ or the Dow. But right now, he's not focused on the stock price that we see of the organization, right? He is not day-to-day looking at where his stock is trading at. He is a major shareholder. He is not interested in dumping shares of his stock. He truly believes that this is going to be a long-term project that can end up being something very, very, very special. That's not going to please a lot of people who think that they can just put some money in here and then a month or two from now, they can walk away with 300 to 400% of their money. It's just not going to work. When we talk about No Borders Incorporated, you really have to be somebody who is willing to research the business, understand where they are in the process, and be willing and capable of riding those waves, that the company is going to ride on the path to those milestones, right? So with that being said, let's listen to what Mr. Snyder had to say, and I truly hope you enjoy. Click subscribe if this is your first time watching, and never miss another episode. Always do your own due diligence when investing. With that, here comes Mr. Snyder. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Supreme Penny Stocks. I am your host, Sal, here, and today I have a special guest in the building right now. He is the CEO, the big man where the buck stops. No Borders Incorporated is the company, publicly traded under symbol NBDR. He is Joseph Snyder. Joe, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So let's start this from the beginning. I really want to focus our conversation on the investor who doesn't know anything about your company. He's got, $2,500, $3,000, $3,500 to invest, and he basically wants to know what's the investment proposition here. But let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate every opportunity that we get to talk about our mission and our ideas, and the reason that we want people to come along for the journey with us as we go through this adventure. And so thanks for having me. I'm Joseph Snyder. I am the CEO of No Borders, ticker symbol NBDR. we remember that easily by saying, hey, we took our company public, no big deal, right? So no big deal, right? But my background started, I started in entrepreneurship very, very young. I remember selling things door to door as a 10 or 12-year-old, because this concept of being able to make or get something at for a specific amount of money and then take it out and have other people give you more money for it really appealed to me, And so I did start that very young. I've sold lots of things in my life. And then when I was, coming out of school into the workforce and what do you do? I gravitated towards sales. And so I went into the car business and went from the car business and started flipping real estate. And the stars aligned. And so flipping real estate in 2002 to 2005, 2006 was a pretty good gig, Absolutely. It turns out. And, and then 2007, 2008, not such a great gig. Learned some very interesting lessons about myself in that period of time in life. Humility was not my forte when I was younger. And, when one is not humble, the universe will visit humility upon you. And I think, the real estate crash definitely did that. I mean, we went from ridiculous trips and cars and all the things that one does in one's 20s to trying to figure out how to scrape together money for diapers, because I had just had my youngest child had just been born. Wow. Wow. And that's a pretty stark shift. That's a pretty stark difference, in realities. And I think it was probably one of the most valuable experiences of my life was to have to reset and to have to look at what are our skill sets, what are we good at, what do we have that's marketable and sellable, and how do we grow something out of that. And so we went from that experience. Luckily, had made some investments and had some interest in some financial services stuff and some risk management stuff. And so I took our little insurance agency, our risk management business, and grew it as much as I could and did acquisitions there and scaled that out. And when we exited that a few years ago, it was operating in 32 states. I think it had something like 20,000 clients or something like that. Wow. And so we did, we were able to come and mom and pop that together and grow it with digital marketing and superior, use of analytics and things like that. And then also acquisitions. I was able to acquire some books of business and some various lines and do some deals that really let us grow and expand and put together something that was really marketable, as far as an exit point went, And from there, Chris and I, so Chris is my brother and our chief technology officer, CTO. He and I are, essentially, side by side in pretty much everything that we do. And so we exited the risk management business, and we kind of, it took some time, right? You did all the things that people do. We climbed Mayan pyramids and scuba dived with sharks in the Bahamas and,
Absolutely.
Trekked through the Amazon and whatever else. But, we sat down at the drawing board and we said, we love to create and we love to build. Mm-hmm. And there are these things that we have experience with and things that we know that are unique combinations of skill sets. And that creates value. And so we kind of sat down at the drawing board and said, if we're going to do it again, if we're going to go do another play, we're in our late 30s now, right? We're not chasing fast cars. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to do it again, what do we want it to look like? And what games, challenges, experiences do we want to play and experience and have? And what financial goals, what type of financial reward are we looking for this effort that in many ways at this point in our life we don't actually have to take? And that, I think, led us to a very, very unique set of answers where we came in and we said, look, we understand how to bootstrap a business. We understand how to do acquisitions. And not just look, anybody can go buy a business, right? Anybody that has, you can win the lottery and go buy a bunch of businesses and be real bankrupt real quick. So it's about how do you analyze, the non-obvious things about the acquisition, and how do you look at adding almost instantaneous, because nothing's instantaneous, but instantaneous ancillary value to what you're bringing in. And what does that look like for us? What do we want out of it? And I had, since I was a little kid, I think I've had this goal of, I want to be the CEO of a publicly traded company. That's just one of those things that just I have watched Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs and these people who are in many areas of the world total obscurity. The folks who are doing deals and the private equity guys and the deal structure people in different verticals and industries. And I always thought that just looks like so much fun. By the way, it's a lot of work. In case anybody out there is wondering.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
It's a challenge, and that's fantastic, right? So we sat down and we kind of mapped this thing out and said, okay, what are our strengths? What are the things that I don't necessarily want to say are weaknesses, but maybe are things that we don't really want to do, and if you don't really want to do it, why do it, kind of a thing. And so that's where we mapped out what we wanted. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Skill sets that really popped off the page were around technologies. We have spent a lot of time analyzing data. Chris has a deep background in programming and software development, and has played with these technologies like blockchain and Internet of Things device interaction and data security and information compilation and data utilization, right? Data compilation and data analysis is all phenomenal, right? But data utilization is the point. If you can't use the data that you're piling up, what's the point of piling up the data, right? You can analyze this all day long, but if you don't have an action point for it, what are you doing with it? And so we kind of put those things in a column and said, these are things that are special, right? These are things that we believe we have a unique viewpoint on, a unique, on-the-ground, real-world, how does this work? How does it influence a system? How does it impact an operation in the real world? So we believe that's the thing that we know that's special. What else? Well, we have done acquisitions, so we know where all the horrible parts are. And I think that's a big part of business, right? Where's Absolutely. The worst part of this? Where's the terrible part? Where's the pitfall? Because talking about the great parts of it and the top line revenue increase and the EBITDA, that's all great, right? Everybody wants to do that, but nobody wants to talk about the fact that, hey, you know what? You just spent $1 million on a business and it makes a whole bunch of money, but it's seasonal, so it only makes it 4 months a year, and that 4 months is in April, and you bought it in December. What are you going to do for the next 5 months?
Wow.
And I think so that experience set, right? And then all of this experience that our team has, both Chris was a licensed realtor, Cynthia is a licensed real estate broker today. We have all, both all together and individually, been invested in rentals and flips and development and land deals and everything for 15 years now, as long as I can remember doing deals. And so put that on the list. I'm like, okay. And we have this deep experience in consumer engagement, right? Mm-hmm. And that's consumer engagement, by the way, that's you guys as well, right?
Absolutely.
And we would persona engagement, let's call it, right? Persona engagement. Who are we talking to? And what message are we trying to get across, right? And sometimes that message is attached to a sale, right? Hey, Metadent Supplies sells dental equipment and, medical supplies, and we want to talk to dentists and, medical offices, right? So who are you talking to, right? What are you trying to put in front of them? And so we have this experience with digital commerce. We have this experience with persona communication. Mm-hmm. And so we put all that together and came out and said, okay, we're going to form a company, get our friends and family investors, get our group together, mm-hmm. put enough capital in to do a reverse merger, right? Now we're back to what is, what's on Joe's bucket list of things that he wants to do in business. Right. And so started making phone calls, formed the company. And, we had this idea around the naming. I wanted this name Lannister because I'm a geek and I like it. And it embodied this, old world aristocratic but pop culture kind of a feel. And I really like that. So we named the company Lannister Holdings, formed it in Arizona. And then, I just spent a couple of months getting told I was totally nuts by a bunch of New York finance guys. Mm. Which, if you're trying to buy a publicly traded company and you basically want to get it with no horrible problems with it and without spending any real money, you get told no a lot. And I'm cool with that because that's how I do acquisitions. So lo and behold, it's just door knocking, man, right? Mm. Like you could be selling Kirby's or buying a Pubco. How many doors can you knock on?
Absolutely.
So through door knocking and networking and just telling, I don't know what telling the universe what I was looking for over and over and over on a daily basis, mm-hmm. We end up with coming into contact with No Borders. And, and so that started this chain of events for us going in and doing our merger, doing that, acquiring that control block. So, my Cynthia and Chris and myself hold the preferred shares, and we also hold massive swaths of restricted common stock. So I'm a common stockholder in this company. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see it doing crazy dilution.
Absolutely.
I don't want to see it.
And that's exactly what the people listening want to hear. So right on for that.
Yeah, and so much so. So when we did the acquisition, in order to make it fit in the budgets that we had, I had to structure that deal where, there was some debt, there was some cash, all this, deal structure, right? And so just a couple of months ago, that debt that we issued for the consulting work on bringing, on acquiring the Pubco, kind of comes due, right? And not, it wasn't aged, but it was kind of coming due, and it was convertible debt, right? Which I don't like variable convertible debt. I don't like convertible debt where it's like, well, and if things go bad, it's about to get worse. Because talk about getting kicked when you're down, right?
Right.
So we got on the horn with those guys and renegotiated that debt and canceled it all out. And when we did the reverse merger on March 8th of last year, I acquired all of the convertible debt that was against the company except for one note. And that one note, I drove down and I met the owner of the note, bought him coffee, and he converted at 100 times less than he could have.
Wow.
Because I just sat down with him and I said, here's what we're doing, here's where we're headed, here's what I want to do, but as long as your note converts into 500 million shares, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Right. We're not going to be able to grow. Right.
I'm not going to be able to do anything, Mm. I find that at the end of the deal, when you sit down with people and you say, here's what, here's why, and here's how we all win, that great things come out of that. So we were able to roll into this with only a single conversion, getting rid of all this other debt, super, super positive, super strong starting point, renegotiated the other outstanding variable convertible debt, paid it off at a significant discount, got rid of it, And with that payoff, we signed a contract that says we will not do a reverse split for at least 12 months. Now, I wasn't going to do a reverse split anyway. That wasn't on my list of things to do. Mm-hmm. But now it's on paper.
Right.
Right? Now we've signed for it. We've said, this deal that we made that saves us money and reduces our dilution for these notes, gets rid of these notes, it includes a clause that says we will not do this one action that is primarily detrimental to common shareholders.
Huge relief for future common stockholders as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we've taken a lot of actions like that since March 8th. The idea behind this, I do not plan on doing this again in my life. Mm-hmm. This is my vehicle. And this is the vehicle that we are going to play these games in and explore these things in, because we believe that our understanding of technology, that our ability to deploy technology, and our ability to properly analyze and utilize the data that is generated by real-world operating businesses like MetaDentSupplies.com, like No Borders Naturals. The website's not technically launched yet, but yeah.
Now we have several lines, right? I mean, how many distinct lines or subsidiaries does No Borders actually own right now?
5 right now.
Five now, right?
5 right now. So, and we believe that ability to utilize technology while owning the real world revenue and profit generating businesses underneath is a formula for real scale and a formula for real success. And with that belief, we have continually put our money where our mouth is. Mm-hmm. When we looked at our structure, my preferred stock, and understand, it's Cynthia and Chris and Joe and a couple of our core group of shareholders own this preferred stock. That preferred stock converted into common stock at 100 to 1. It was a 1 billion share overlap.
Wow.
Okay? We reduced that from 1 billion, from 100 to 1 to 20 to 1. I wiped out 800 million shares of our own shares. Those were mine. And I did it because you can't have a 1 billion share overhang.
Understood.
It's not reality. Right? No serious investor can look at that and say, yeah, I'm willing to take common stock off the table. Because the downside risk is just too huge. Right? Mm. And so, we have taken these steps, reducing our authorized, right? The day that we did that merger, No Borders Inc. had 1.8 billion authorized shares.
Yeah. Like so many OTC companies. I mean,
yeah,
you're one of the lowest, and it's one of the reasons why, I was again so impressed that you guys have such a great relationship with your shareholders, because you guys are able, you've done the work necessary for people to trust you, and that's what I really appreciated hearing from people who are already shareholders. And the fact that it shows through the fact that you guys don't have so much paper out there. And sitting on 1.8, and only 260 or 270 million was even issued. Mm. And there's 1.8 billion off sitting out there. It's like, that's great. So we cut it to 750 million. Now, 750 million is a lot, right? But let's think about that. If we're serious about how we grow and things like that, there may be times in the future where we want to do a strategic acquisition, and we need to be able to move a block of common shares to do the equity portion of the deal, right? We want to have that ability, but I don't want to have 1.8 billion. Like, what? Are you serious? Right.
And so, I think that we have consistently taken the steps, the proper steps, to say, this is who we are, this is what we think, this is what we're doing. Now, one of the big things that we went to market with, and one of the things that we're still very focused on, is real-world application, non-crypto, real-world application of blockchain technology. We believe it's a better way, right? Having a secure, immutable, decentralized ledger, if only you're looking at supply chain and fintech, it's an incredible tool for the future.
Absolutely.
Right? But the longer we spent working on blockchain, both some internal stuff that we've been playing with, which Chris just likes to geek on, but also as a focus, the longer we spent working with outside clients on blockchain ideas, the more we realized that we want to build blockchains for ourselves. We want to use technology for our businesses, because building out technology for somebody else is great, and there's revenue there and everything else. There's a whole sales cycle and enterprise. There's this whole world of work that goes into that, which is great. I'm not scared, right? But at the end of the day, we took really powerful, specialized knowledge and experience and rented it to somebody else, right? And that's a short-term gain potentially, but I don't think that's a long-term win. And so we've been really focused for the last 6 months on what are the products that we want to, what are the markets, what are the verticals that we want to play in, that we see the technological advantages as really stark, right? As really standing out. And, medical is one of them, dental. There's a lot of there's so many layers to that, right? It's like saying, oh, well, we're going to attack mortgages with this technology. And you're like, yeah, which part?
Absolutely.
The funding side, the funding side, the servicing side, the repackaging side, the consumer facing. Like there's 9,000 businesses inside that one conversation.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, one of the things that Chris and I have done consistently is we've put together these really kind of impactful data analytic automation tools, right? Where we can come in, we've done them for our own e-coms, we've done them for clients, where we can come in and we can take the data sets that a business has, use a lawyer or a dentist as an example. And so your average dental office, your average dentist can see somewhere between 1,200 to 1,500 patients in a month, right? Okay. And so if your average office has 2 dentists, then your average office has about 3,000 total patients on its roster. Of that 3,000, our data shows that between 800 to 900 of those, maybe 1,000 of those, a third, are inactive. Now, inactive means that they have not come in and had an appointment in the office for the last 6 months, right? So we have these remarketing and re-engagement and tax and all of these pieces that go into this to come into the back end of that and say, hey, you've got 3,000 clients, and your average revenue per client per year for a dental office is about $750 for general dentistry. Goes up when you go into specialty stuff, into Donix, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But specifically in general dentistry, you're about $750 a year, patient value, 3,000 customers, of which maybe 1,000 are inactive. You take 1,000, multiply it by 750, right?
That's a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of potential there. It's $750,000 sitting there. Now, it's not light switch, right? You're not going to get all 1,000 to come back tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is you already paid for the customer as the dentist, right? As the practitioner. Mm-hmm. You've already paid for the customer. These people already came to you and purchased something. So re-engagement and remarketing and consistent engagement throughout a consumer post-consumer life cycle is really impactful to the results that a business gets. And we don't believe, the bigger organizations, you get 10, 15, 30 offices, those guys typically have the resources to pay a couple of people to sit in a room and do this kind of stuff, right? But that's $70,000 a year right there, $80,000 a year right there to pay staff. So that's how we see coming into something like this and saying, okay, we add this line, No Borders Dental Resources. We add this brand, Medident Supplies. Now, Medident Supplies has somewhere, 300, 400 active customers on the customer list from the business line that we brought in, has 2,000, known customer files, and now we're able to come to market, and it's in beta, so we're not actually offering it to market at the moment, so I do have to be clear, but we're able to come to market and say, hey, by the way, you already do business with us. You already buy stuff from us. And hey, we have this artificial intelligence-based customer retention tool. And would you like to try it? I'm not knocking on the door from the outside. We're talking to them as friends from the inside.
That's awesome. And Joe, when would that technology, when would this opportunity be available for people who are, again, already working with you?
Well, it's in beta now. So, we have it working with clients, now. Right. And that's called Retainer Rabbit. So, that's been talked about before. It is a software as a service. It is a customer re-engagement and retention tool. And it's got a little bit of AI tech in there and a lot of predictive analytics and a lot of analytics analysis and engagement action points. Chris would be the guy to geek on that with you. I can talk about it. But, those are great things. And that's how we see moving forward, looking at the verticals that we want to attack and saying, okay, we want to attack this vertical. We want to play in this vertical. This is something that interests us. It's something that's fun. It's an ecosystem that we like. Why do I like dentists? Well, dentists are kind of happy people all the way around. They make good money. They have a fairly low stress, they're not, I'm not putting them down. I love dentists. But, they're not like ER cardiac arrest surgeons, right, where they're just stressed out all day and they're exhausted, 20-hour shift. No, they're rolling into their office. They got happy patients. Everybody's smiling. They're surrounded by awesome people. They make great money, and then they get to go home, and, that's a great customer base. Those people are having fun. I love that. And if we can roll into that, offer them the equipment that they need, offer them the supplies that they need, impact their bottom line by being priced, competitively, and have our service be competitive, and we can add a technological revenue stream to the existing client base. Now we've added fuel to the fire. Now we've taken a known metric, right? Anytime you're doing equipment sales or things like that, these are known metrics, right? What's your gross revenue? How fast can you scale sales? What's your customer acquisition cost? And then what's your net, right? What's your EBITDA and what's your net? Those are known margins. There's only so far you can scale with the resources that you have, and there's a known return on investment. But the minute that and that's what you go to acquire, right? That's what they're selling at the acquisition side. There's all these known things about this business. Right. There's the known revenue stream and the known customer base and the known profit margins and the known cost and operations. And we get to look at that investment and we get to say, okay, we like that investment, we like that business line, we like that customer, we like everything about that. Now we get to come in and lower the customer acquisition cost through better utilization of existing technology. Who are these people? What did they buy in the last year? What are they probably going to need next year? How do we put that in front of them? How do we touch them on Facebook and Google and remarketing and banner ads, all those things, right? And then secondarily come in and say, oh, and by the way, let's offer them a totally additional software package that's a recurring revenue system for the business, provides an incredible value for the customer. It's a win-win.
Awesome. Wow, Joe. I've gotten to know your business so well in just 20 minutes here. But at the same time, it was really interesting to know that, again, you've already been here, right? In terms of building a business, scaling it higher. It's almost like you're going back and doing it again, but this time you've got, of course, the experience behind you. And that's really promising for people who are, again, looking to make an investment that they hope really generates a significant amount of return for them. But at the same time, we know this takes time, right? What is the time frame that you think you could see at least this company where we've got at least not I don't want to use the word significant revenue, but we've got revenue that you're comfortable with being generated?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough question. Revenue that I'm comfortable with. There's a moving metric.
Yeah.
You know, our goal is to impact revenue in the immediate term.
Wow. And
I say that, obviously I'm not going to give you a time frame.
Sure.
Sorry, but we both know that. If I did, I'd be one of those guys.
Right.
So I can't give you a time frame there because, you know, what we're doing, there's you know, I worked till 4:30 in the morning last night, right? So it was 19 and a half hours yesterday. And loved every second of it, you know. But there's this whole set of real work that goes in to bringing these things from, you know, from ideation to market and all of that. Absolutely. I don't think that work stands in the way of revenue. And for the record, I gotta be careful what I say, but for the record, Metadent Supplies has revenue, both last quarter, end of last year, and this quarter, this year. Right? What is it, January something, 20th. No Borders Naturals has revenue this year. They already have revenue, and there are some other things that aren't announced yet. But so the problem with answering that question is you're saying that I'm comfortable with. I think my number's higher than most people.
Right. No. I mean, no, because I mean, again, you know, when you started the conversation, you talked about how, you know, you do not necessarily see yourself, but you were enamored by people like the Bill Gates of the world, like the Steve Jobs of the world. Is that your goal for, you know, for No Borders? Do you see a company like this? And I'm not putting, you know, I don't want to put a time frame on it or anything, but I mean,
sure.
Are you managing this business in the way that you can see this company in that kind of, you know, in that kind of frame, like in that big?
No Borders Inc. is my Berkshire Hathaway vehicle.
Wow.
This is my vehicle. And when we decided to keep the No Borders name, right, because you and I didn't exactly talk about that. I mentioned Lannister, but when we formed this idea, we were moving forward under Lannister, and we spent 6 months and a lot of media time, a lot of hours on shows like this, talking about Lannister Holdings and Lannister Development. And, you know, we got to a point in this journey, you know, first of all, I don't fight reality. I don't necessarily always believe in reality. I think a lot of the rules that we apply to things like, well, you know, I literally had New York bankers when I was making offers on to find an OTC company to acquire and do a reverse merger. I literally had a guy text me back and say, "You are in Disneyland with Mickey Mouse. You're absolutely fucking crazy."
Wow.
And I texted him back and I said, "Perfect. I'll stay here." You know, so I think that reality is definitely a construct. And the rules that we govern our life by, what is possible is what we make possible, right, at sheer will. But at the same time, I don't fight reality. And at the point where we got a letter back from FINRA saying, you know, hey, we will happily do this review of your name change, you know, because we were going to change the name of the company, right? And it included a $4,000 bill.
Just for a name change.
Review thing. And I called Chris and I was like, that's crazy. I mean, look, I'm not even that cheap, right? Yeah. I mean, Cynthia is, thank God, right? I'm not the cheap one in the group. We've got Cynthia for that. I'm not even that cheap. I called Chris and I was like, this is crazy. we're gonna pay them $4,000 to maybe get a review approval. And we sat down, and so we ran the numbers and said, hey, you know what? What does it cost us to not change the name? What does that cost us in logo design and product rebranding and website revamp? Is it less than $4,000? Oh shit, it is. Good, let's do that.
Wow.
You know, and so we moved forward, and I'm telling you, man, the next day, it just felt like a better fit. The minute that we embraced the No Borders name, which was a name that we acquired, right? I mean, it's total happenstance that we ended up with this name that really does seem to fit us.
Right.
And it really does seem to resonate with the ideas. And we were able to get the logos redone and the messaging redone and all of this stuff almost overnight, and just came out kind of guns blazing with that new direction. And obviously we have multiple brands, you know, Metadet Supplies doesn't say No Borders anywhere in it, right? But as our Pugco, as this vehicle, you know, we've really, I think we absolutely lucked out, man. I think we absolutely lucked out. And I'm super grateful that at this stage, the way that I feel about it, I am super grateful that I wasn't able to get that name change done faster, you know, and everything else, because I think it worked out really, really well. And I'm really happy with what we have now. And I think, you know, I'm from California, but the aura of the organization that we have, and, you know, the incredible team that we have, you know, man, it's so much fun doing what we're doing, and we're playing the game the way that we wanted to play it.
Yeah.
And I'm a major shareholder. Major shareholder. I don't want us doing things in this business that aren't good for the shareholders. You know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And Chris and Cynthia and I and our core group of investors, the people that believe in us and have underwritten, you know, all of the things that we have done so far, because, you know, we have not had a public offering. Right?
Right. You got money actually in it, and that's a good thing as well.
You know, and so, you know, as far as the revenue question goes, we're working as hard as we can, as fast as we can, to acquire customers, to deliver products, and to grow our sales and customer operations as quickly as we can. And, you know, we have sales in Metadet from the existing customer base. We have sales in Metadet from new sales staff that we are adding. We have new sales staff on the ground that's being added in Arizona and California. And we have direct sales from the work that we do, that primarily Chris does, digitally, where we have direct sales on the website from, you know, digital marketing and digital engagement already. So those things are realities. It's about us scaling those up. The great thing about Metadet is that scaling Metadet is actually not horribly cash intensive. And that really gives us, you know, basically as far as we can scale the marketing and maintain an acceptable profit margin, we can grow that thing out, because most of what we're doing there is non-warehoused delivery. Gotcha. Right? And that's a great model. You know, I mean, I don't want to warehouse a $20,000 dental chair and hope somebody buys it. Right. But I'm happy to, you know, to make sure that the customer who needs it gets it on time. You know,
makes perfect
sense.
So
the on-time ordering, on-time delivery for that business, I think, gives us a real power position. And then in No Borders Naturals, man, you know, CBD, I mean, I pause just because we talk about blockchain and we talk about CBD, and you want to talk about two of the things that are probably the most overhyped.
Overhyped, but I mean, we got to be honest. These are going to be $1 billion, if they're not already. Will be $1 billion, you know, huge, right? Absolutely,
they're going to be huge. And I've had both of my shoulders completely rebuilt. So I have plates and pins and Kevlar anchors. I got all kinds of cool stuff in my shoulders. And so I have fairly chronic I sit at a laptop for too long, it locks up. I do a lot of yoga to stay loose and everything else. But I get tightness in my neck, I get tightness in my shoulders. And a friend of mine was manufacturing this really high-end emu oil base. And I don't know if you've ever researched emu oil, but emu oil is just amazing for the human body and for animals, by the way. But he was making this emu oil-based CBD stuff, and he gave me some, and he's like, hey, man, try this on your neck, see what you think. And I end up using that, getting some more, and using that, getting some more, and it worked. It just worked.
Wow.
So I don't know what claims, I know there's a bunch of stuff we can't say. I know it doesn't cure everything, just like blockchain doesn't solve every business problem in the world, but for specific applications, both of those things really work in their environment. And so what I ended up doing was going back to him. It really worked. I used it. My dad used it. My mom used it. I ended up going back to him and saying, man, I love this product. Where are you not selling this particular product? And he was like, I don't know, man. He's selling it in California. I said, okay. So we got exclusive distribution rights. We're the only people in the world that can sell his product in Arizona and New Mexico. And then we took it a step further than that and said, you know what? We do love his product, but because it's us, we want our own brand. And we want other products too. And maybe I want to make some of my own products. And hey, while we're doing all this cool product stuff, is there maybe a way to use blockchain to show the lab results about where the CBD came from and where the product stuff was sourced from?
Wow.
And if so, wouldn't that be cool to put on the label? And if you did that, maybe wouldn't other CBD companies and suppliers maybe someday come knocking on our door and want to be able to use that transparent ledger? And maybe couldn't we charge them for that down the road?
There's another revenue source.
I like having, and I'm holding a bottle of our rub right now, emu oil rub right now, that I keep on my nightstand that I literally use every night before I go to bed. I like having a product in my hand that I can hand to a customer because that's real world business. And I think that's the part that technology companies miss over and over and over again. I have been to the big glitzy San Francisco parties. I've been to, this was back before Spotify was, had any revenue at all. But I've been to a party at their headquarters.
Wow.
And you're talking about some of the most expensive real estate in the world to lease per square foot. And they got 6 pool tables and 5 refrigerators. Who pays you money? Yeah. Nobody yet? Why the hell do you have 6 pool tables?
Sometimes a chef and a bunch of other things, right?
Yeah, why is there a full open bar out here for 300 people? This is good. So, we don't believe in operating that way. I like having a physical product to hand to people. I like having the business lines where we say, this is our consumer, this is our market, we know who they are, we know why this works, we know how to deliver it to them. Let's do that now. Now that that's done, that's profitable. That makes money, right? Good. Check that box. Now, how do we add compounded power to that as it's already here? And, we want to own that system. We want to own the business and we want to own the system because the minute that consumers are making a buying decision about whether or not to buy this CBD product or that CBD product, and that buying decision is swayed by transparency and security of supply chain, the minute that that's a factor, which I don't believe it is yet today, right? CBD is still nascent. But the minute that that is a factor and our product has supply chain transparency built in, we have a competitive advantage on the shelf, and we have a competitive advantage with the other competitors who then we can sell software as a service.
Right. I feel like the whole world is open in terms of that. There's yet to have a real significant brand in that marketplace too. So there's so many avenues of opportunity, for No Borders in the CBD space. So it's going to be really interesting to see how you guys, put this together.
I think you guys are going to like it because we have a really fun plan, and we have a very, very aggressive and really fun plan put together. It's not announced. I can't give you any details. It would be bad competitively for me to give you any details on top of everything else. But, we have a very, very, very fun plan, and I think it's going to be a great adventure. And I think that, the goals that I have for it are stratospheric. They really are. The way that we brought it to market was really, really simple. I made a deal to get us access to product, right? And we have put that product in retail locations around Arizona. We have retail locations in Tucson. We have retail locations in Scottsdale. We have retail locations in Gilbert and Mesa and Queen Creek. And we did that to get the product to market. But again, we're doing it differently. Obviously the product that you see on the website there today, the reason the website's not launched is it doesn't have our product photos on it yet, right? Those products are ours, and we are selling them, the ones that are on the website. We own those products, but they're not labeled and branded with our No Borders Naturals branding, which is done, just got done. Like, one of the reasons I was up till 4 a.m. last night, I was finishing these pieces, or, working with the team to finish these pieces. I don't pretend to be a graphic designer. But we have a really fun plan on going to market. Our focus, as you can see if you go to the website, which is up, by the way, and we have orders on. Like, people are buying stuff off this website, even though the product photos are terrible and they're not actually our brand yet. So people are already buying stuff off the website for this, and people are buying it off the shelf, which we appreciate. If you've bought our product, thank you so much. Use it, love it, give us a review, let us know what you thought. We appreciate it. That product line we have placed with health and wellness focused areas, elderly areas, and then pets. So this is how we view the CBD market, right? Because we view the CBD market from our own set of experience. We are very health oriented people. We are a health oriented family. I do yoga, as much as I can, but 3 or 4 days a week. I lift weights 3 or 4 days a week. My wife is the queen of all fitness queens. And, Chris does a bunch of yoga. Cynthia does, just works out, 5-6 days a week. And Francine Hardaway is very health and wellness focused. She's in her 70s. And so as we looked at this market, what we really realized was the people who are most like us are most likely to buy this product. And what I'm using this product for is day after muscle soreness. I'm using it for muscle tension. I'm using it for, just calmness. And then with my dogs, I have 2 huskies who I love, awesome, the greatest dogs in the world. And they're awesome dogs, but they're very, very hyper. And so at night, they'll get up 2 or 3 times a night, just be bouncing off the walls. Well, we give them some CBD with their dinner, and they just chill. They sleep all night, and, they rock and roll in the morning. Wow. So we're coming to market specifically for the healthy, active, lifestyle type folks, both in the millennial range all the way into elder care. And right along with that, pet care. Those are really the 3 segments that we see our brand staking a flag in and putting a position in. So all of our labeling is geared towards that. All of our messaging is geared towards that. You'll kind of get that resonance and vibe from the website and the logos and all of those things. And as we go into that market, we're going to be playing with some different sales models. We've got retail and e-com right now. We've got some other things that we're playing with. But we believe that we've found a way to take a product that we believe in, a product that works, and deliver it to an audience who wants it, who likes it, and who isn't currently being properly courted by the existing market participants.
Yeah. I mean, the market is just so young. So I think you guys, again, are in the right place at the right time. And the sky's the limit. The sky is truly the limit when we talk about NBDR. And that's just that part of the business. I mean, that again, you talked about the healthcare aspect. You talked about the real estate aspect. Now, when we pull it all together, I know there's got to be somebody listening out there who's saying, are they overstretched? Are they in too many directions? Calm that investor's mind right now, if you can, for me, Joe. What reassurance can you give to that person who's thinking, oh, well, they don't have one line of business, or they don't have this? What can you say to that person to say, hey, we've got these different lines of businesses, different revenue streams, but we still have, and we're confident that we have the experience and the knowledge to, steer this big ship?
We are going to reach failure points all along our journey. And we welcome those failure points because they teach us and they inform our best possible decision making. I don't necessarily view these as disparate actions. The skill sets that we bring to these various lines of business are identical, right? We have not gone out and grabbed a line of business that is so far afield that nobody can understand how our core competencies impact it, right? At the end of the day, what we're talking about is customer acquisition, product delivery, customer engagement and re-engagement, offer delivery, product sourcing, quality verification, product delivery, and internal vertical disruption through technology. That is the same course of action through every one of these lines of business. Those core competencies remain the same. And the fact of the matter is that by having multiple lines of business at the same time, we have the ability to keep team members busy who we wouldn't necessarily be able to keep busy on a single line of business. Graphic design and copy and content people are a great example, right? I would tell that investor to go look at the social media around each of those brands. If you think that we've missed a step, let me know. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we have. Our social game is strong, and it's consistent. Our blogging game is strong, and it's consistent. Our websites are solid. No Borders Natural isn't technically launched yet, so forgive me for the photos. I apologize. It's not my best foot, and I didn't like putting it forward, but people are buying stuff off it. What do you want me to do? Right? We have the ability. We turned from corporation formation to website live, not launch, live. It was 21 days for No Borders Naturals. You show me another company that has that kind of internal ability. And by the way, I didn't spend $10,000 or $15,000 or even $5,000 or even $2,000 to get that done, by the way.
Wow.
We do it cheap. We run lean. We're remote work. I'm not paying for office space. I'm not paying per diems. We run cheap. We run lean. We get stuff done. I think if we were in a single line of business, we would be doing our shareholders a disservice. Because the power that we have, the knowledge that we have, it's only as valuable as the vertical impacts that we can make with it. And we're not far afield. We went into the dental vertical with a junior partner who's been in the industry and speaks the language and has the connections and has an existing customer base. Right? I'm not trying to go -2 to 1. I'm trying to go like 0.5 to 1. I'm trying to stay above 0 for sure, and in the CBD space, we have a deep experience set in direct consumer e-com and digital marketing. It's something we happen to be pretty good at. And that consumer messaging, is that SEO messaging, blog content, product positioning, media relations, all the way through to ad creation, ad content creation, all those things. Metadent has 30 and 60-second commercials that are already out, video commercials. No Borders Naturals has video commercials that are already up and out. They have active social media channels. They have active digital properties. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I think we do a good job of it, and this is, as far as we're concerned, just the beginning. There will be more verticals, and we will add more products to the verticals that we're in. If somebody is scared by that, I respect you and don't buy my stock.
It is what it is. I mean, it absolutely
is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Right. If you're not comfortable with that, then so be it. And I think that's a great point to make, and I think a great way to end this, because again, you guys are getting into the opportunity. When I say you guys, I'm talking to people watching this right now who are not holders of the stock. You are getting into, when you become, in my opinion, seeing what I've heard so far, you are getting into a vehicle which the CEO has already described, is prepared to go the distance. I mean, as he told you, this is his vehicle, and he's running it. He is absolutely running it. He's got these lines of businesses, all these revenue streams that are potentially, game-changing for this stock. Potentially game-changing for this stock. And again, Joe, you've done an incredible job of being so transparent. And again, I would put what you've done next to anyone on OTC, in terms of any other company that's trading over the counter right now, in terms of your level of transparency. It's absolutely incredible. You put out a Christmas message. I mean, you're keeping people updated like never before, like so many CEOs don't do. It's just good to see. It's just good to see finally a company that you can actually, stand up and talk about, and not feel like something is going to come out to embarrass you in terms of, hey, this was hidden or that wasn't hidden, or this. I guess if there's any final statements, Joe, if you want to put out for people who are interested, again, in moving forward and being a part of this incredible opportunity that I believe is an incredible opportunity to get on the ground floor. Again, the stock's trading at a very, very reasonable level for, what you've told us you're looking to do with this vehicle, what the potential is for the lines of businesses.
Shareholders,
yeah, go ahead.
Shareholders don't like hearing this part, but I don't watch our stock price.
Mm-hmm.
I don't keep an eye on it. I do get updated by Twitter.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure.
So I think that's kind of my heartbeat on it. But I don't watch it because I just feel like, I hold the shares that I hold, and the people who have been with us the whole time, the people that believe in us are holding the shares that they hold, and that is going to gain value as a direct correlation to the results that we get. And that's why, we had a shareholder, this was early on, where we had a shareholder who had a couple million. She was a fairly large compared to our float, right? Because our float's only like 27 million shares that's actually floated.
Very low float. Mm-hmm.
And so she held a couple million shares or whatever, and she just didn't like that I wasn't willing to join these private groups, on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so she just didn't like that, and I just had to say, look, anything I have to say, I'm going to say to everybody. I don't have another answer. I don't have a side answer for this group or that group. Mm-hmm. This is what we're doing, and we've done exactly what we said we were going to do. It's taken longer than I wanted. By the way, my staff knows that, right? Everything takes longer than Joe wants. So our shareholders can join that train. Everything takes longer than I want. And that's a perpetual reality of my life, I think, which why I drive too fast. But I drive safely. Don't take that wrongly. I don't want the 400 comments on. I don't want the 400 comments on Twitter about my driving. But I guess my message, is that we're doing this to build a value stream, and we're doing this to build wealth. These are the tools. The way that I viewed this, and the reason that we went this way, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make this the longest show you've ever had. I'm sorry, I could talk forever, man. So you just turn me off whenever. You turn me off whenever.
Oh no, hey, no, trust me, investors are listening. I can assure you that for sure.
You know, the idea here, and I think this is what has captivated me so much, because I was raised primarily by my grandparents, and my grandfather was kind of a corporate law guy. You know, did corporation formation and all kind of, who knows? I don't know, I was 10, right? I don't know. But I was enamored by this idea that these people would show up in these really expensive cars, and they would come in and they would do this paperwork, and they would leave with a trust, you know, or they would leave with a corporation, and that existed in order to allow wealthy people to continue and grow and expand their wealth. That these tools existed that allow you to defer taxes and increase valuation and acquire assets, and that these tools existed, and I was really enamored by that. And as I come forward in my life, that kind of mysticism around that toolkit has never really left. You know, I've been honestly, I was such a voracious reader of Bloomberg News. I spent a couple hours a day on Bloomberg News just reading all this M&A for years, literally until they put a paywall up. And by the way, Bloomberg, if you're listening, terrible move. I mean, $30 a month, really, to read your news articles? Is this what we're doing today? Like, you can't just serve terrible ads? Like, come on. So anyway, so I'm no longer a voracious reader of Bloomberg News because I'm too cheap to pay for it. But and that idea that these tools exist that allow people to scale wealth and to build something that provides multi-generational rewards. You know, my daughters are 13 and 11, almost 14. And yeah, I want them to go to good schools, and I want the best for them, whatever. But I don't want them to have to buy sacks of baked potatoes when they're 18 years old because they're working as an electrician, you know, and they're too proud to go back home. So they're sitting in their apartment. I mean, I ate baked potatoes for break and lunch for, I don't know, months, because it's all I could afford. You know, it was baked potato in a microwave, butter, if I had butter, you know, salt and pepper. You know, at one point I ran out of butter, so I was using olive oil that I had. And I'd wrap them in tinfoil, and I'd stick them in my bag, and I'd take them to work with me. And I've done that before, you know. And I don't want my kids or my grandkids to have to do that. And these tools exist that allow us to build things and create things that allow us to transfer that wealth down to these other generations intact, largely intact, if not even growingly intact. And that's what I want out of this. I want to build the vehicle that provides my family with multi-generational security and wealth.
There it is, guys. Joseph Snyder, Chief Executive Officer of No Borders Incorporated. Again, publicly traded under the symbol NBDR. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
All right, there it is.